Back now with David Sanger, Chief Washington Correspondent of the New York Times. 6 years the Bureau Chief for the Times in Tokyo, and our own David Martin, of course, our National Security Correspondent. David, what should we be looking for now in the next couple of days?
Well, in addition to the rescue operation, which I'm afraid has been sort of bad news getting to worse, I think that the nuclear plants are going to be the real focus of attention. And here the question is, how much meltdown has happened? Sunday morning Japan time, the government said that they had to assume that 2 of the plants were in partial meltdown. There's already been some detected amounts of cesium in the air. This is a very radioactive material that kind of gets into everything, and of course it became the big problem in Chernobyl. Nobody's expecting a Chernobyl-size issue here, but if the levels of cesium in the atmosphere continue to go up, then the problem of evacuating people is going to be much higher, and the problem of cleaning up is going to be much harder.
We're already involved, the U.S. military, in a very big way there, David. Just give me a little rundown on what we're doing there and what's the Pentagon worried about here?
Well, U.S. military helicopters based in Japan have already evacuated 600 people from the disaster zone. The aircraft carrier Reagan is on station, serving as what the military calls a lily pad for Japanese helicopters to refuel at and operate off of as they go about disaster relief. There are about 6 other ships there that are searching the sea for anybody still alive who was washed out to sea by the tsunami. And there are several other big deck ships on the way, some of them, at least one of them anyway, carrying Japanese troops, because internal movement is a big problem here. And so the more the U.S. Navy can move these troops, the better off Japan is.
What is the main worry of our military about this?
Well, I think the U.S. military has the same worry about those plants that everybody else does, and they have no special capability to deal with it.
David, I want to ask you, the Japanese government, do you feel that they've come clean, or are they giving us the facts on this? Sometimes governments tend to try to coat things like this with good news. What is the kind of the record of the Japanese government?
Well, the record in the nuclear arena is not great. There have been some much smaller nuclear incidents over the years, and either the electric power companies or the government regulatory agency have been involved and gotten caught later on sort of downplaying the worst of the news. In one case, editing a tape out to make it appear that an accident was not as bad as it was. Here, you don't know how much of this is just the fog of confusion and crisis management, and how much of it is trying to just make sure that people don't panic. And there's always, in a situation like this, the sort of fine line between not wanting to worsen an already panicked situation and coming clean with everybody about what's going on.
Well, in line with that, Lucy Kraft just said that some of the papers there are saying that the stock market may crash tomorrow.
Well, it's possible, it could, it's hard to know. You have to think, though, that over the long term, this could actually turn into an economic stimulus for Japan, because they're going to have to rebuild this beautiful and a quite historic area all north of Tokyo, and that could bring a lot of investment back into Japan. You already saw the yen go back up on Friday, just because of the thought that money would be flowing back into Japan. So it's very hard to sort of separate the short term from the long term here.
All right. Well, I want to thank both of you for adding a little perspective.